Here we are. What is good, Defenders? It's the night before a match, so you know what time it is. Your favorite pre-match segment here on Defenders of the Bank. It's time for one more sleep, and the boys travel to the House of the Mouse, Orlando, Florida, and we will cover all of it here for you so you can be ready for the match tomorrow in Orlando. You know my voice. It's the Scarf, J.R. Liebert. Fresh from my 8th graders graduation, middle school graduation today. It was a good day. Philly, the hoodie, you're kind of looking like one of my middle schoolers, I think, right now with the hood up and the black hoodie and everything. It's Christian Philly Philemon, everybody.
Hello, Los Angeles. The platinum-haired flamingo is back in full effect, my friend. I was wearing the hoodie for shock value. Went back to the old dude because, well, we got some fun stuff to talk about later. But, yeah, man, did the hair the other day, courtesy of Isis Black and Gold Barbershop. Voted 2 years in a row the best barber in Burbank. If you're a fan of getting your hair cut and you're a fan of LAFC, head on over to Isis Black and Gold on Burbank Boulevard and, of course, Burbank, California. My man, this is like the exact reversal. It's normally me wearing the shirt and tie. This time it's you, 8th grade graduation. I've never seen you dressed up so nicely in my life.
Yeah, man. Look, I got to keep up with all the kids, man. They were looking good up on stage. It was a good night. Congrats to all my 8th graders for their hard work this year at graduation. It's kind of odd. Summer has officially started now for me for the Scarf. And this will be my first summer since I was like 14 or 15 that I have not had a 40, 50, 60 plus hour a week summer camp running job. So it's going to be kind of nice to have my first summer, kind of letting the batteries recharge, getting to look at my curriculum for a little bit, getting to see what's going on. And also, I don't know how I'm going to make the money, but we'll figure it out. Don't worry. I'm going to enjoy my summer. It'll be fine. Everything will be great. I don't need to worry about money. It'll be great. It'll be fine.
You need a break. You've been running yourself ragged. I, too, need a break. I've been running myself ragged. TST, the podcast didn't stop last week. In fact, I did more podcasts in a row last week than I had ever. It was like 2-3 podcasts a day. It was like the wildest thing. You and I, even though we had an international break, just need breaks in general. You need a vacay. I need a vacay. But who doesn't need a vacay is LAFC. Even though they're going to a very popular vacation destination spot, Orlando, Florida. The humidity in Orlando in June is going to be gross and potentially a factor. House of the Mouse, as you said, Scarf. This isn't a team that we have a great deal of history against. We've only played them 4 times, and the last time we played against them, the names Pancho Janelle and Jose Cifuentes were prominent parts of our lineup.
Yeah, and Philly, you mentioned it. Let's talk about this real quick. 88 degrees potentially at kickoff, somewhere in the 80s. Precipitation somewhat likely. Humidity guaranteed to be in the 80s, if not 90%. It's going to be a nice, sticky day in Florida. Absolutely not the weather that LAFC or Orlando City, for that matter, really want to be playing in. And Philly, this is not a good Orlando City team. They've got one of the sweetest new crests in all of MLS. That 3-headed lion is just so flipping cool. I'm very jealous of that crest. It is just something that if I were an Orlando City supporter, first of all, I'd have to wear way too much purple. That would not happen. But the crest is just absolutely beautiful. But that's about the only thing that's fun to look at. This team, how about 16 goals in 16 matches? You don't have to be a middle school math teacher to do the math on that one. They are averaging 1 goal per match, a -8 on the season in terms of goal differential, Philly. And they are potentially going to be without several starters for Orlando City, especially, in my opinion, a team of this caliber. They're going to be missing their most important player. We'll get to that in a minute.
It's not only that they're not a good team, they're not a good team at home. You see their record at home, it's abysmal. 1-4-3. They've won 1 game at home. They're 3-3-2 on the road. This is not something that you see very often. A team, regardless of how poor form they have, they typically have a much better record at home than on the road, or at least something somewhat closer. But to go 1-4-3 at home, pathetic. Currently sitting in 11th place, even with a fully healthy lineup. Not a team that I think is going to contend heavily for a playoff spot. This is going to be a team that would be lucky if they got hot late in the season and just somehow slipped into a wild card spot. But one way or another, those three-headed lions are sacrificial lambs for the vast majority of teams in Major League Soccer.
Yeah, this is a club that has been maybe one step forward, one or two steps back all season. I mean, they did hold Tigres to a scoreless draw very early in the year, March 5th, my mom's birthday, actually. And then they would trade either shutting a team out like they did with Austin or getting shut out like they did against Atlanta, and then back and forth and back and forth. This is just a club that really hasn't been able to establish any momentum, and that will certainly be just as difficult because of the international duty, international break. We know the player I was mentioning, their most important player, in my opinion, has been Pedro Gallese. And Pedro Gallese for Peru, he is their starting keeper. He has, I believe, held 2 straight shutouts in their Copa America and in their international tune-ups over this break. He is a very, very good keeper, but his game finished a couple of hours ago. We're recording this Friday. Game finished a couple of hours ago for Peru. He's not making it back to Orlando and certainly won't make it into the lineup. So it'll be another keeper that we will talk about later on. And Philly, a lot of other talent in this international break. Duncan McGuire, several other guys who may not be there for Orlando.
As per Orlando's media guide earlier today, Duncan McGuire should feature.
Yeah, we'll see how much they're able to feature, though, with all the play that they've just been doing.
Well, they're going to need Duncan McGuire, and I'll explain a little more later. But look, we're definitely the better team, the better run of form. I mean, we've won 5 consecutive games in MLS play without allowing anybody to score. We managed to put a goose egg up on Orlando. We become the first team in the history of the league to win 6 straight games without allowing a goal, which is pretty darn cool. As of now, if you're taking count, we're tied with Atlanta United, who set that record back in 2019. So we definitely are the team that has the better run of form. The last game that Orlando City played was against the New Jersey Energy Drinks, a game in which they lost by a score of 1-0. And in their last 5, they're 1-2-2. Again, not a very good team, but more importantly, not a very good team at home either.
Yeah, looking at like guys like David Bracalo, who might not be there. We'll see if some of their other deeper guys, Fabian Loyola, Abdi Salim, other players who were playing on international break. But you're right, Cesar Araujo and Facundo Torres will be back. They did not make Uruguay's Copa America squad. And it does look like Duncan McGuire, who played, 70 minutes almost, as the U.S. Olympic team lost to Japan 2-0. He'll be back. There's going to be some tired legs for sure. And Philly, we got to kind of talk about the elephant in the room. I was so bummed when the roster came out for the U.S. men's national team, the 26-man roster. They had called 27 men into camp, and it was all a question of whether Josh Sargent would be healthy enough to go. And unfortunately for Timothy Tillman, Josh Sargent was healthy enough to go. So the only cut from the 27 men in camp for the U.S. men's national team is Timothy Tillman. We'll talk about him in a little bit. But I think the other nice part, Philly, is this break has allowed LAFC to get back healthy again. We knew several guys were dealing with several bits of injury. Obviously, we know Lorenzo de la Valle will still be out for an extended period of time. We're hoping David Martinez is getting closer and closer to coming back, although that likely will not be the case for the next couple of matches, maybe even after the All-Star break. But everybody else, Philly, should be pretty healthy.
I agree. And the players that we do have coming back from international break, in particular, Denny Bouanga. Denny did his thing. I want to talk more about him on our players to watch, but it's really cool to see our boys out there. Timothy Tillman should consider himself lucky that he didn't play for the U.S. men in that game against Colombia. Otherwise, he might have gotten thrown in the heckling box. I tell you, it never ceases to amaze me time and time again how toxic USMNT social media can be. It's like the worst place to go. Far worse than anything I've seen in Major League Soccer or anything else. I don't want to compare it to what you see overseas, but USMNT is just downright awful, disgusting, and filthy. And that being the case, I'd say we should probably get into our players to watch. What say you?
Let's roll. Absolutely love it. Orlando trotting out a different goalkeeper than Pedro Gallese, and that is going to be my player to watch. Orlando's Mason Staduhar will likely be in goal. I say that because he has been the one to pick up the slack for Pedro Gallese over the last couple of years. He does have one match played already this year. So I think it will be Mason Staduhar. Mason Staduhar is a cancer survivor, so he's a player that I will always be watching closely and rooting for. But I think the other reason to watch him in this match is that LAFC will certainly be bringing their shooting boots to Orlando, and I think it is going to be a long night for Mason Staduhar. What we have proven against several different clubs this season is that if you bring in your backup keeper, we will score and score early and often. So I think it is going to be a fun night for Mason Staduhar because he's going to get the start, but by the end of 90 minutes, not going to love it so much. That's for sure. And then my player to watch for LAFC is that man who got cut from the U.S. men's national team squad. I think we have already seen, my humble opinion, Timothy Tillman be the MVP of the first half or so of our season. All due respect to the scorching hot Denis Bouanga, I think when this team was floundering, when we were looking for moments during the early parts of our season, Timothy Tillman was the most consistent player on the pitch, especially as compared to players who we were counting on, like Edward Atuesta and Ilie Sanchez in the midfield. We had Timothy Tillman step up. Well, now Timmy is going to be extremely motivated, becoming the only player cut from this U.S. men's national team roster. I think we are going to see Timmy even take his game to the next level, which is absolutely insane to think that the one of the very few, in my opinion, and I tweeted this out on our Twitter page a couple of days ago, one of only two players I think that is all-star caliber worthy this season for LAFC. Timothy Tillman is going to take his game to another level. I have a feeling Philly is going to talk about the other player that I think is all-star worthy on this LAFC squad in his players to watch.
You mean my low-hanging fruit that I utilize time and time again because it's a no-brainer? That's what you're referring to?
That'll be the one. That'll be the one.
Fair enough. All right. Yeah. Forget how these fun little graphics go. All right, cool. Duncan McGuire, my friend, is Orlando City's player to watch. You mentioned that he featured against Japan for the U.S. men's national team. Bro, it was Tuesday. The kid's 23 years old. I think he's going to be more than capable to feature in a game on Saturday. I like this kid. In the 13 games that he's played for Orlando City, he's got 5 goals. He has a tremendous story. Going to Creighton, 3 years worth of college there. Big East Offensive Player of the Year, was the TopDrawer.com National Player of the Year, won the Herman Trophy, but obviously how you play in the Big East and in college doesn't mean anything. Had a season at Lane United in USL League 2, did his thing there, got picked up by Orlando City in the 2023 MLS Super Draft. But here's a young man, in my opinion, that is playing with a chip on his shoulder. If you go to his history, late January of this year, he was already set to fly out to the UK to sign on to a club that's really fallen on hard times in England, the Blackburn Rovers. But they pulled the freaking deal, Scarf. The kid was on a flight. He's hanging out in Sheffield. He had interest from the Sheffield Wednesday, but here's a kid that almost fulfilled his dream of going to play overseas. Blackburn screwed everything up. Apparently, like, they're trying to get him back into things. He wants an awful lot of money, but there's a reason why he's doing things and playing with a chip on his shoulder. He scored the fastest goal of the season on March 9th, 13 seconds against Minnesota United. Unbelievable. And he's just piling up numbers. He's going to be one of the top scorers in Orlando City well before the kid's at 24, 25 years of age. So he's my player to watch, the most deadly player to watch on this team, other than, I would imagine, Facundo Torres. And look, this is a no-brainer. Y'all know that Philly likes to pick the low-hanging fruit, but Denis Bouanga, Scarf's like, duh. You don't have to really think too hard about that one. And it's not even because he's leading the team in goals, leading the team in assists. He played so exceptionally well for Gabon in their World Cup qualifiers. He started and played the full 90. Well, he played the full 90, got subbed out in the match against the Ivory Coast. Fortunately, Gabon lost 1-0. And then he played the full 90 and essentially scored the game winner against Gambia, propelling them to a 3-2 win. So he went off on international break, playing with his buddy Aubameyang, and took care of some business. So once again, success breeds upon success. I can be blue in the face the amount of times I've said this, but it would be really silly to look anywhere else because the guy's leading the team in goals. That's a given. He did that last year, but he's leading the team in assists too, which means he doesn't obviously have to score to be a threat. He attracts all the defenders, opens the space up. That could be a potential scenario for your player of the game, Timothy Tillman, to slot one in. Maybe Matty Bogusz. It's just his game has just been a lot more refined. It's just such a beautiful thing to watch Denis Bouanga this season. And more importantly, it's better for all of us watching LAFC, knowing that we don't have to rely on one goal scorer. We really do have a team.
Yeah, something interesting to watch. This is also, again, according to the MLS's player availability report for match day 20. We know about De La Valle and we know about David Martinez. Luis Muller also listed out with a hip injury. Interesting to see where he picked that one up and what's going on with Luis Muller. It'll give us a little less depth up top, of course, with guys like Kike Oliveira.
He got picked up by Uruguay for Copa America, by the way, and I did notice who was. Yep, Gomez Jr. mentioned it as well. Yeah, so props to Kike.
Very happy about that, but I am a little bit worried. See who's going to be playing on the wing. That could be an area where maybe Matty Bogusz comes in, maybe a player like Nathan Ordaz comes in, or maybe
Ordaz.
I mean, who are going to play on the wing? It's going to be interesting to see what LAFC does. We've used guys like Edward Atuesta at different times, and Timothy Tillman and Matty Bogusz, and see where Kai Kamara slots in. I don't know. We got plenty of options. It'd be really nice to, hear from Carlos Vela at some point. I know there was just a thing, right, on Instagram or Twitter where Tom Bogert said, right, he's like having a good time. He's just not doing anything. He's just living his best life.
Well, if you're on Instagram long enough, like he's doing an advertisement for 3-4 something or other. I'm not entirely sure what the product was. It just came across that, but he had no problems heading down to San Diego to check out the press conference of his buddy Chucky Lozano. I am so surprised that Chucky is signed by San Diego, not because they don't have the money, but because I could have sworn that he had announced previously that he was just committed to staying in Europe. I would have thought they would have brought in the likes of a Memo Ochoa or even a Sergio Ramos because their names were floated around. Heck, even Kevin De Bruyne was floated around. I don't want to say things, but with Tom Penn being at the helm of San Diego, obviously a clear relationship with Carlos Vela, I'd hate to think that he might be doing what he does, which is being grimy and shady behind the scenes, trying to lure Carlos Vela to San Diego. I could understand why Carlos and his wife Soya wouldn't want to leave LA to go to San Jose. But San Diego is not a terrible place to be, especially if you like that beach life, in particular, that relaxed life. It might be the closest thing he gets to the time he lived back in Sociedad to have that kind of lifestyle. So that's kind of scary to me and something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's definitely something I saw for sure. And by the way, Chucky Lozano might want to stay in Europe, but if Europe doesn't want him, then he's got to find another place to go. So let's get into our keys to the match on this one. This is going to be a fun one for me. Just pick right back up. Look, I coach a lot of different sports at a lot of different levels at the school that I work at and outside of school and everything else. And one of the things that I have learned is that sometimes you call the timeout so that you can get your team refocused, get certain players back in. And then sometimes you force the other team to call a timeout. And there's really not a whole lot of change you need to make from before the timeout to after the timeout. Well, you know what? LAFC is looking at MLS and going, okay, it's MLS who called the timeout. It's not LAFC who has to use this time to get back to the drawing board, to figure out what might work, to regroup. No, in fact, all LAFC needs to do is to continue to defend in the way that we have been defending, which has been an entire team effort. We're talking even guys like Kike Oliveira and Denis Bouanga tracking back with regularity, Kai Kamara winning headers in the box, as well as Jesus Murillo and Maxime Chanot. We're talking about our wing players defending well, getting back into the box. We're talking about our midfielders dropping back even further so that they can defend on attacks. And that has been a team effort. And, oh, by the way, the man all the way in the back, Hugo Lloris, making all the saves that we have asked him to make. I still don't think there have been many more than 1 or 2 saves that Hugo Lloris had to really make an incredible effort on to keep this shutout streak alive over the course of these last 6 matches. So this is one of those cases where LAFC just needs to pick right back up where we left off. Now, Steve Cherundolo did say, Philly, in the press conference that this absolutely halts the momentum. It absolutely stops the run, that LAFC had over the course of those 6 games, but the guys needed a break. Well, now you are giving a fully rested LAFC a chance to pick right back up where they left off, and I love our chances in doing so. So my astute insight is to just pick right back up where you left off. That's it.
Well, geez, that might be one of those moments where, again, great minds think alike. It's pretty much pick up right where we left off, just ties into, play as a team. I've said this time and time again, this is the most team-centric that I've seen LAFC look in a very long time, possibly just period. I don't remember, even 2019 was a year in which Carlos Vela dominated. If there was ever a time I think we might have looked like a team, I'd say we'd have to go back to 2018. But at that point, I'm really starting to forget a lot of those games. I know we're not that many years into our franchise's history, but 2018 seems like a long time ago. So I might be wrong. If anybody wants to correct me on that, fine. I won't combat you because I'm far too tired. But play as a team is going to be the key to everything as we head in to the summer transfer window, which I believe is July 18th. Our season's going to be made or broken by the addition of Olivier Giroud, and I'm more inclined to think that it's going to be made. I don't think he's going to have a problem, the consummate professional coming onto this team and being a key part of it. And I don't see Denny having a problem at this point dishing off to a player like Olivier. Perhaps he's leading the team in assists because he knows what's to come. His distribution, he's going to have to do that far more because LAFC now with a true number 9 is going to rely on Olivier. But anyway, that's down the road sometime after July 18th. Play as a team. That is my key to the game.
I'm right there with you, my friend. Great minds do think alike. Let's see how we feel about our score predictions. Look, I think we keep the shutout streak going. I think that we maybe take a little bit longer than we like to get our offense going. But the key for LAFC, and it's been this way in the Steve Cherundolo era, it's been this way in the Bob Bradley era, I imagine it's this way for every team, no matter which coach they have, is when you score first, you really put the pressure on the other team to change what they want to do. And I think what Orlando is going to look to do is to defend, and then catch us on the counter, depending on how confident they feel about Duncan Maguire and Facundo Torres up top. If they feel confident and they want to get into a track meet with LAFC, with Denis Bouanga and everybody else that we have, please get into a track meet with LAFC. I would be perfectly fine with that. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to sit back. I think they're going to try and maybe possess the ball a little bit more. I think they're going to try and play out of the back. And I think what they are going to try to do will be unsuccessful because I think LAFC will indeed get the first goal of the match, causing Orlando to throw bodies forward, and then we will catch them at least one more time on the counter. John C., I absolutely love what you are throwing down. I'm going to pick it up and say, not only that, this will be the match. This finally will be the flipping match where Kai Kamara ties San Jose Earthquakes legend Landon Donovan with the number 2 goal spot in all of Major League Soccer history. So I think it'll be 2-0. I am very curious to see what Philly thinks.
I like what Chris Laverty says here. Score prediction, a negative. I'm mainly putting that up there because he's been chiming in all night, and I haven't added any of his comments there. I do want to wish Chris Lafferty a very happy birthday. Chris Lafferty aged a bit last week. He's aged a bit quite as well with all the work that he's putting in. So, Laff, I know you've been there for quite a while. Nothing but love, my dude. My score prediction, I think we come out of the gates red hot, picking up, like you said, where we left off. Orlando is not a good team. They let in a lot of goals. We've said that throughout this podcast. That being the case, we whoop the ish out of them. 3-0. We make them black and blue. We turn that purple into black and blue. This will not even be a game that is remotely competitive. You alluded to the fact that Pedro Gallese not going to be there due to international duty for Peru, a game in which they won recently tonight against El Salvador. That'll be a big problem. And then whatever players will not be on that roster is just going to only add to the fact that we are going to score that many goals. There is blood in the water. And LAFC is that shark. So the black and gold are going to bite right through Orlando City SC, making those Lions wish they were Cubs.
Yeah, look, I love it. I think that very well could happen. We'll see what kind of match they get from Mason Staduhar on the back line. It'll be all about whether Facundo Torres or Duncan Maguire can create a moment of magic. I think they are certainly talented enough to do so. But the way that we have been defending with the amount of minutes that we have piled up in a shutout streak is something that I don't think LAFC is going to be keen to let go of anytime soon. And I certainly don't think we're going to do that against Orlando. Philly, it's fun to be back at this again. We're going to have a very fun football-filled weekend, that is for sure. And we'll definitely talk all about that on the recap episode. But Philly, real quick, right before we sign off, do you want to plug the event that we will both be a part of this coming Father's Day Sunday?
Absolutely. And it honestly just ties in very well because one of the players that are going to be competing in this game on Sunday happened to play for Orlando City, retiring in 2017. It was his last club. On this Sunday, Father's Day, June the 16th at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, live from Toyota Arena in Ontario, California, will be the Game of Legends. You will see Ronaldinho. I'm not even joking when I say that. Ronaldinho will be captaining the Kids Super FC Football Club, taking on Kaká, captaining the Culture by Mo Ali FC Football Club as well. There are so many different celebrities and influencers, professional athletes, former players, TikTokers, entrepreneurs, so much star-studded power that they actually had to pull the game out of Los Angeles to put it in Ontario, California. But it'll be a fun one. Think of it as a celebrity all-star game. MASL style rules. The tickets are still available. You might have an opportunity to take a photo with Ronaldinho and Kaká. When these two will ever be underneath the same roof or be on the same pitch/turf against one another, who knows? But we have 2 Ballon d'Or winners and 2 World Cup winners going at it. It's going to be a darn good time. Scarf said that he and I will be at the game. We will not just be at the game. We are going to be a part of the game. Scarf has the distinct honor and privilege of being the public address announcer for the Game of Legends at Toyota Arena. So anytime you hear a goal gets scored or you hear the players walk out or a public service announcement has to be made, you will be hearing the dulcet tones of one Jean-Ramon Lebert, a.k.a. the Scarf. Me, on the other hand, what I will be doing is I am on the call. I'm doing the play-by-play for the Game of Legends. That is going to be on the big Qatari-based network, beIN Sports USA. I have the play-by-play. Jonathan Reimer is the analyst, and my wife Panda should be doing things and as well, sideline reporting. And Mr. Fiore, does that name ring a bell? Spanish announcer, Mr. Francisco Fiore. He will be calling the game on Canela Deportes. So there are a lot of star-studded power throughout the course of that entire building. It's going to be a lot of fun. Scarf PA, I'm doing the play-by-play. Check it out. If you are out there wondering what to get your dad for Father's Day and he's a football fan, come on, y'all. Ronaldinho and Kaká are going to be playing against each other. Oh, geez. Gomez Jr., she's still your wife, huh? Yeah, Giroud hasn't shown up yet. So far, yeah, we just celebrated our 7-year anniversary, ironically, and there's this thing called the 7-year itch. Good God, I am going to stop. My point is, hope to see you at Toyota Arena. Ronaldinho versus Kaká. It'll be a fun one. I know y'all know who Mo Ali is, one of the world's biggest football trainers. He'll be there. Kid Super, the shoe surgeon, just to name a couple of people. It's going to be fun. And Scarf is the PA. Isn't that nice?
And I'll be perfectly honest. There's one name, we can't mention it, but there is one name that if they do decide to play, I'm way too excited to do the announcement for this one name. So we'll see.
200+ million followers can't be wrong.
If it does happen, by the way, you're going to see at least some video of me doing it on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or wherever else we do things. But either way, it's going to be a lot of fun for all of us. Make sure you guys get out to Toyota Arena. It blows me away that there are still tickets. Kaká, Ronaldinho in the building. Look, it's going to be fun. MASL rules, kind of a TST style format.
Well, the target score time will be in play.
Right.
What's cool about that, it's like every 60 seconds rather than every 3 minutes. That was done at the TST tournament. By the way, shout out La Bombonera. Scarf, the coolest thing, man, I don't know if I told you this. 7 out of the 8 teams that made it to the round of 8, MASL talent. The only team not to have MASL talent, the Hoosier Army.
Right.
Pretty darn cool. And the winners are practically the Chihuahua Savage, the team that won back-to-back MASL titles.
What team was Frank Tayo on? The losing team? Was he on the
Nani FC? So he made it all the way to the finals.
Yeah, he was. And then wasn't what team was Uzi coaching in?
Uzi was coaching Newtown Pride, who lost to La Bombonera.
Yeah.
La Bombonera played an interesting game. They might be changing the rules of the TST for it, but TST was freaking fantastic, man. I love it. I hope to be on the call for it next year, since there are 100+ Major Arena Soccer League players involved with it. Pat McAfee's team featured so many players that I've called games for a while. In fact, Pat McAfee's dude, Stefan Mijatovic, is an Empire striker. So come out and check out Meat. Meat was all over the place, making saves, shooting dimes, scoring goals, drowning himself in beer. It's so much fun.
All right, so
and speaking of which, dude wipes, scented.
Good Lord. People have asked who we have winning the Euros and Copa America. I'll give my answer real quick, and then we'll sign off. Philly, you give your answer, and then we'll sign off after that. Look, my answer for the Euros, I think he's got one more run in him, y'all. I think it's going to be France. I think that Kylian and company find a way to do it. Look, as much as I want to pick
Kylian has one more run in him. Kylian has like 100 more runs in him.
But I'm saying, like, this season, it's been a long season for Kylian Mbappe. He's got a lot going on, but I think he is. I think he's just the best player in the world, in my opinion, right now. And I think it'll be
the
France.
People from Morning Footy believe it as well.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I think France is potentially the best team in the world. And I think that Olivier Giroud is going to win Euros, which is it's going to cause him an awful long time to not come over. And then Philly, I'm going with our boy. I'm going with the greatest of all time to win Copa America. He just scored a brace in their final tune-up. It's kind of like, and I don't mean to bring him up in this way, but I'm gonna. It's kind of like betting against the greatest living American who just got put in the New England Patriots Hall of Fame. Just saying, until you beat Messi, I'm going to go with Messi because, as you know, Philly, if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. And I just don't think anyone's doing it. I'm going with France and I'm going with Argentina. Talk about low-hanging fruit.
Hey, real quick, Scarf, Matt Tyndall, the gentleman who's in charge of game day production at Toyota Arena, wrote on Instagram, and I quote, Scarf, there are a lot of PA reads for you. So you better rest up that voice, my friend. No yelling, because you do have a ton of sponsors. You and I, by the way, are going to be bathing in ape water. I don't say that as a joke. Ape water, I drank so many cans of it earlier today. By the way, if you happen to catch the press conference for the Game of Legends, I'm the MC. So I'm going to be introducing Ronaldinho and Kaká. Boom, mind blown. But ape water, we're going to be bathing quite a bit in it. My picks for Copa America, Brazil. Brazil is just such a tough team. I mean, when you've got players like Martinelli coming off of the bench, unbelievable. I don't take that game against the U.S. as anything other than a whatever it was, a friendly. It meant more to the U.S. than it meant to Brazil. But when you look up and down that roster, I mean, Alisson's such a good keeper. You have Rafinha, you've got Vinny, you've got Rodrigo, you've got so much talent on that team. It would be tough to bet against Brazil. And as far as the Euros go, I'm not going to go with a logical choice. I will never, ever, ever root against Germany. Germany at home is going to surprise a lot of people. The old guard, for the most part, is gone. In comes the new guard, and there are a lot of talented players. Florian Wirtz is going to have the tournament of a lifetime. Watch out for Die Mannschaft.
Just because they took Scotland behind the woodshed today. It's going to be interesting to see if that German team comes together. It's going to be fun to watch. You're absolutely right. Look, Philly, I know you're not rooting against Germany. I'm not rooting.
Deutschland, Deutschland, über alles.
I'm not rooting against the U.S. men's national team. I'm just a realist when it comes to who they're playing. But either way, this has been a much longer one more sleep than we normally do.
Yeah, 34 is not that long.
I blame it on Philly's hair. That's what I do.
The platinum-haired flamingo is back.
Bye, friends.
Bye-bye.